This was also around the time that it was 15 years of Reach, which is ironic. So then that's when we were like, we should maybe do like an anniversary tour, and then you'll be back. So it'll almost be this like very special like thing that we can do for the fans and like for ourselves. And
that's really beautiful. Yeah. What's going on, y'all? This is Tori Kravitz. Welcome to a new episode of She's with the Band here on KNOTFEST. I am joined by Anissa and Alexia of I Set to Kill. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so good. This has been a long time coming. I mean, Anissa, you came on the MySpace roundtable, and then I was like, you know what? She's so sick. We need a whole episode for I Set to Kill on their own.
Thank you. That was so much fun too. Yeah.
It was fun until you started telling me about your eye, and then I was like, you know, this isn't fun anymore. That was a crazy story.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now you're here to join us too. So now it feels complete.
Yay.
Sister.
Ooh, that's a good, what is that? That's Disney Channel, isn't it?
Yeah, Sister.
Tia and Tamara Mowry.
Yes.
Okay, we're off to a good start. But we're in Orlando, obviously. Thanks for coming out of your way. Like, you have a show tonight and celebrating Reach, 15 years. You've had like a few legs of this tour. So how have they been going? How's everything?
They've been really good. They've been like time traveling.
Oh yeah.
Almost. And at first it was like kind of weird because we got so used to playing our newer stuff.
Right.
And when we started playing our older stuff, we were like, I felt like we had to change our mindset almost and like go back into where we were when we wrote those older songs. So like a lot of feelings, a lot of growing up, emo, mad at my mom, mad at my boyfriend, all these things.
Yeah, music's such a weird time capsule like that. Like even I feel that we'll get so into it all. But for me, some of your music's the same way where it just transports me back to a certain time in my life. So for you, was it like a positive experience? Was it sort of a lot of everything? Or what were some of the feelings and thoughts that came up revisiting all of this?
Yeah, I guess it was like, it turned into positive. But at first it was like, man, I didn't realize how much I was like struggling with like growing up like emotionally. So it feels like really healing every night and seeing everybody like singing the words and everything. Oh my God, I can't help but like smile and want to look at everybody because it meant something for them too.
Yeah. I get the visual in my mind when you say that of like being at the top of the mountain and looking down and being like, wow, that's where I was and now here I am.
Yeah.
But like still kind of going through those feelings.
Yeah, we've had like a lot of fans come up to us and like tell us how much Reach has impacted them and how much it's helped them through like struggles growing up and all of that. So that's always so nice to hear and really cool to like experience.
Yeah, major full circle to hear these songs. And even I was revisiting a lot of the old music prior to this interview, and I was just like, wow, I was so small. I was so little.
That's how we feel too.
That's crazy. But what an amazing solidarity that you're in that room with those fans. And even though you're on the stage and they're in the crowd, you all went through and felt the same things. That's such a, I don't know, it's an equalizer, isn't it? A little bit. But has there been like a certain fan interaction that's been the most, I don't know, heartwarming or moving for you?
There's just been a lot of people who don't know what to say, just like thank you, but the way that they say that they don't know how to say or what to say is really beautiful because you could just see it all on their face, like how much the music means to them.
Yeah.
So it's
and when they're singing along,
when I talk about it.
When they're singing along too, like you could see the emotion in their face and like how they're feeling, like right up front. It's so cool to see. But yeah,
so it's cool to like be able to feel the connection without having a story behind everything. Just like being able to feel that with people is really, really cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure for a lot of those fans too, maybe we kind of parted ways or discovered new music and then now coming back to it so many years later. I don't know, it's just I'm such a nerd for this kind of stuff. Obviously, like been listening to music in that way for my whole life. So I understand that sort of feeling. Did you have any challenges as you were playing some of those songs for the first time in a really long time? What were those first rehearsals like?
Do you have any?
For me,
Yeah, sure.
I felt like it just all kind of came back easily, like the bass parts and everything, just from like muscle memory. And so, I don't know, nothing really, it wasn't like hard for me to like remember the songs just because they just kind of like stuck with me for like all of our career. So
yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's when you play them over and over and over the way you did on tour.
Because at first I was like, am I going to remember how to play these songs? Like when we were talking about doing the Reach anniversary tour. And then when I like listened to them and was played along, I was like, oh yeah, I remember these songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you imagine when you released Reach that you would reach the point, pun intended, I guess, of like one day you'd be celebrating 15 years and still be a band? I mean,
oh my gosh.
How could you have ever known the impact, right?
Yeah, I feel like when we were writing it, when we were starting everything, it was just, we're so in the present moment of just like, we're having fun, we're doing something different. Who knows where it's going to go? Like, we didn't really think about the future, but we always just felt like if we were just being ourselves and having fun, then it would just be a good thing. So it's really crazy. Like, I think it's 16 years now.
Right. Because you started the 15-year anniversary like quite a bit ago.
Yeah. But for me, it was really weird starting the rehearsals because my voice is different.
Right.
And like my technique is completely different. So I was like, wait, do people want to hear me sound younger? Because I mean, I could try to sing younger. So sometimes it's like I push really hard and then I'm like, oh, wait, you can go back to how you used to sing because that's just how you used to sing.
Yeah.
Because like my mind gets in the way of like what is correct. And I definitely didn't sing correct on that album. Yeah. But I think that was what was cool about it because it was just like we were just doing what we knew what to do.
Right. Yeah. I must say, I definitely could not sing along to you. Like those songs, I'd be like trying so hard to reach your notes. You're an incredible singer, but like it was very visceral. Like your vocals were very like impactful.
Oh, thank you.
It's intense. But so I don't blame you for having to change your strategy a little bit there. But even talking about revisiting the songs, Anissa, I do want to talk about the fact that you parted ways with the band for a little bit. Yes. Now you're back in.
Yes.
So Muscle Memory lasted through a lot of transitions and changes. I want to know the backstory, like what ended up being the reason you left, and then what was the inspiration to come back recently?
So when I left, I was going through a lot of like personal, like inner things that were going on. And so I felt like I really needed to like step away and like work on myself. And then it was just a lot of like inner work that needed to be done before like I came back into like because I didn't talk to my family for a while too. Like it was like a lot was going on. And so
it was like a period of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 years. It was like a really tough time, but I worked through it. And then I really missed my family. I missed the band. I missed my sister. And I felt like it was time to like come back to myself and come back to my family. So was it like a year ago now? I think it's been
like a little more
than a year. I messaged or we kind of just reconnected. And then
she connected with my mom.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which my mom was like, hallelujah.
Yes. Is that what she sounds like?
Yeah, connected with my mom. And then eventually reconnected with Alexia and the rest of the band. And then we talked about, this was also around the time that it was 15 years of Reach, which is ironic. And so
serendipitous,
then,
I'd say.
Yeah. So then that's when we were like, we should maybe do like an anniversary tour and then you'll be back. So it'll almost be this like very special like thing that we can do for the fans and like for ourselves. And
that's really beautiful. Like what a way to come back.
Yeah.
Right? Like so full circle of like
yes.
such a pinnacle release for you all too.
Yes.
Did you find that, I mean, you all started really young. Like this band started when you guys, late teens, early 20s? Do you find that having grown up in the kind of atmosphere of touring and being in a band was really challenging and that may have been part of the reason you needed some time away too?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like, it's kind of crazy because I didn't finish high school like normal kids do. We started going on tour when I was still a senior. So I felt like we grew up on tour.
Right. And
so that's just very different. And I also never really thought about that. So I feel like maybe stepping away from touring and like doing all that like did help me like kind of grow and figure out myself more. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that when she left too, since we've been close ever since we were, little.
Mm-hmm.
We never had that time to ourselves to find who we are separately as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we were that close.
Yeah.
So those couple years that she was gone was actually like transformative for both of us in our own ways. And even though it was like really painful for both of us, it was like
mm-hmm.
something we really needed to,
Mm-hmm.
the space that we really needed to just learn more about ourselves, because
mm-hmm.
we're like practically like twins.
Yeah.
I'll say something and then she'll just randomly say it like almost a second later. And then I'll be like, I just said that, right? And then vice versa. Like we just have like a weird connection of like where we almost feel like one person.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like we needed that time to like grow up in those 5 or 4 years or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you all had like a very unique way of growing up. I mean, I would still consider like your late teens, you're still growing up, and like your early 20s and stuff. Do you feel like there's anything you either missed out on or you think was a really big benefit of the way that you lived in those years? Like where do you sort of fall in your perspective on that looking back?
I feel like it goes both ways. Like I feel like there was a lot of benefits because we were traveling and seeing things that like people at that time our age would never see, like, and we got to experience a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to if we weren't on tour.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it did help us like grow as people and benefit us in growing. But I'm sure there's always like a negative and positive to things. So
Didn't you miss your senior prom?
I mean, I was so ready to get out of there. I was like, let's go, guys.
Yep. I mean, I think my first tour was like freshman year of college. So it was sort of similar where I was like, I don't miss those things. But, you gain so much life. But you also grow up really quick in that atmosphere too.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think if there's anything like that was like a negative thing about always, because we were always on tour.
I guess like in the beginning, we kind of, it was like a party. Because we weren't around parents. We're drinking a lot and just like having a good time. We were traveling the world and we're like, we didn't know this was a possibility, or we knew it was a possibility. We just didn't really know what actually happened.
Yeah.
Like going to like South America and Southeast Asia and everything. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of like something that was kind of a negative thing, but it helped us learn so much.
Yeah.
I have the same perspective when it comes to like the party side of the rock world, where it was like, man, that was pretty unhealthy, but also I learned so much and had to go through those growing pains, right? Mm-hmm. And it's weird because I feel like that culture of like drinking, going out, partying has really changed. I don't know if maybe it's just that I'm older, but I feel like in 2008, 2010, it was very different, wasn't it? Different world.
Yeah.
But it brought you all here.
Yes.
So yeah, it's awesome. And something too I want to talk about, because I feel like this sort of goes hand in hand a little bit. Like there's not a single guest on She's of the Band that I don't love. Like everyone who comes on, obviously I love, but this is personal for me, okay? I Set to Kill's personal because, I mean, it's interesting because our age difference isn't that far, but I discovered you all in my late teens. You all were in your early 20s. And at that period of time, very specifically, it feels like a huge age gap where I considered you all role models for me. I mean, I told you I'm wearing this cut up t-shirt because of you all, and just like these little things where I really looked up to you as women in metal who were freaking cool. Just you were cool. I mean, you're still cool. What am I kidding? But I now, as someone who's older and I have younger people watching me, I feel like the roles have sort of reversed. And so I'm curious, I had you all on a pedestal when I was a teen. And how did you all see yourselves in that time? Because I feel like there's sort of a difference in how the role model sees themselves versus the people who looked up to you. You know what I mean? Because you're people. We're all just people.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I feel like we never really, like if you ever you've met Kayla before, obviously.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I feel like us three we're just very like humble and haven't really ever had like that mentality of like I gotta act big or like I gotta I'm representing a group of people or like anything.
You've always given that vibe off where you're just doing your thing.
Yeah. I feel like that happens from touring so young. Like we're just kids. I still feel like I'm 36. I still feel like a kid.
Right.
So I think that, I don't know. I'm trying to think, is there ever a point where I felt like I was putting myself on a pedestal in a way by it? I really can't.
I feel like we never took ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And we always just wanted to have fun. Like we started playing music because we love music, and we are like best friends. And so why not like travel the world, have fun, play music? Like that's our dream. And so we didn't really like think of us as anything too serious, but like just some kids playing their music and having fun.
Yeah.
And like it was cool that people enjoyed our music, and that even made it even better. Is like having our fans that are so supportive, and family too.
Yeah.
And
And it's such an interesting thing because, you know, you start because of the music. You love the music. You love being in a band. And then it does kind of turn into something else at some point where people like me come in and like, oh, they're so cool. And, you know, and so was there a point where you became sort of self-aware of what your role was or how people were seeing you? And did that ever impact your mindset?
I feel like with fans, we kind of don't have what a lot of people draw as like a boundary, because
for better or for worse,
we like just have such a strong connection with our fans that it's really hard for us to draw the line.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fans turned friends. That's what we call them.
It's I mean,
we are like our friends.
Part of like what we love about it is like connecting with other people who like have the same feelings, or like people that can relate to us, and just making those connections is just beautiful. So why wouldn't we not become friends with these people, like people that listen to our music, you know?
And by
like,
default, you have so much in common with them because they clearly resonate with what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I get that. I mean, I'm not on the same level per se, but, you know, there's people who have either listened to a podcast or followed my work back in the day where they're my friends now. And so I get that too, where it's just like, well, we're all in the same world. Like, it's not that serious.
Exactly.
But it's just interesting when people look up to you and then you're like, but we're all just the same. So that's sort of why I wanted to ask that question, because I think it sort of opens up the conversation of just humanity and understanding of each other, where it's, you know, you can be a role model, but also we're all on the same level.
Yes.
You know what? There was this fan the other day that was just so, I've never seen someone so more excited. Do you know what I'm talking about? He was so excited. and like a little, something seemed a little off about it, but and he was following us everywhere.
Following you everywhere.
Yeah,
like
not in like tour. A creepy way though. But just like kind of like, you turn, there he is. But I remember having the thought of like, oh, this is a crazy person. But then I was like, you know what? We're all just people. I don't know his story. I don't know like if he has like mental issues or anything. It seems like he's just an innocent guy that's like very, very excited about the music. He thought that I screamed in the band somehow, but like his heart was what really shined through. And I feel like it's good to just see people that way sometimes, because like underneath their whole story of life of what they had to go through, they started out innocent and just like they had to go through whatever, and that's who they are now. But I think that everybody deep down inside, even like, you know, mean people, I think that they do have a good heart. It's just like the conditions that they were in. And I feel like it's better to just look at that initial person instead of, you know, who they became today. Because who knows, maybe they'll be able to get through that darkness someday. But just,
that is a beautiful way of looking at it. I wish I could think like that, because I'm just always fearful. You know, I live in a state of like caution. But I agree. Like, there's definitely a belief that we all started the same and we all have our journey and our story. And there's definitely more underneath than what you see at surface level.
Yeah.
So did he end up being nice? Was he chilling then?
He didn't. I mean, Yeah, he was sweet.
nice.
He was really sweet.
Yeah.
He just, there was just something about him that he just had no filter of like, he didn't know about normal social cues and how it could weird people out with certain things. But he was really sweet. He had a big heart.
Oh.
Yeah. Didn't he?
I know what you're talking about.
Aw. And I also, we talked about this briefly in the lobby because you all liked my ripped up Alice in Chains shirt that I very specifically wore this today because big fashion inspiration. 2010, I was ripping up all my shirts, and it's because I think it was like a Warped Tour you all did where just everything was chopped up, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
But your style's always been awesome. To this day, you still have great style. So just, I have to ask, fashion inspirations, where do you like to shop? What's the deal?
We like to shop at any thrift store. We're big thrifters, so
Sustainability.
I still like to find like t-shirts and like cut them up in like any custom cool way that I can.
I have to learn how to cut things from her.
Please do some tutorials. I would also like to know.
Okay, I'll put a tutorial up with some like shirt cutting ideas.
Thank
you. Yeah, I'll do that.
Well, we
Much
like
appreciated.
We like thrift shopping because it's like hunting. Like you don't know what you're gonna find.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my god, there it is.
Yes.
The treasure hunt. So are there certain
Yeah.
things you like kind of look for, scout out when you go to a thrift store? Or is it just luck of the draw?
I kind of just go in. Sometimes if I'm like, I need to find like this certain color, this certain like style, like, but usually I'll just go in and just kind of see until I find something that like pops out at me or something. I don't know. I don't really think too hard about it.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're doing the tie-dye shirts on tour. And you said you're also cutting t-shirts and selling?
Yes.
Because that is, if you're not excited about reach, which you should be already, but that's also another reason to come out to a show.
Yeah.
That's a motivation.
Yeah, I started cutting shirts, I think like Warped Tour, because I was always wearing like cut up shirts, and we just had just, the normal t-shirts. And I was like, girls don't want to just wear these like t-shirts. They want to wear like cut up stuff. And I think like at the time I was just like, I mean, I'll just cut it up for everybody and then we'll sell them. Like, yeah. So that's what I started doing.
It's also
and then
hot out too.
And
so
it's hot. So it's like, we want to make it into a tank top. And then when we came on this tour, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start doing that again because it's fun and like people like it. And it goes both ways.
it's functional and it's fashion. The first Warped Tour that I had done, I think the cut up t-shirts were already not as cool anymore. So I was wearing the standard t-shirts. So I was like, this is not breathable. I'm bringing this back. And so I bought fabric scissors and started chopping them all up. And it's the best. It's summertime. That's the time to be doing it.
Yeah.
And we are doing so much kind of reflection on the old days. So I just thought this is a bit of a spin on a question that I wanted to ask too is, so you go back in time, you could tell your younger self one warning and one affirmation of what's to come. Like, let's think 2008 era. What would you tell yourself?
Warning.
Or like I don't know, piece of advice maybe. Warning's a little dramatic maybe.
I like warning. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like how dramatic it is.
Thank you. Here for the drama.
Maybe, oh man. I'm trying to think of the things that like really bothered me when we first started touring.
I feel like the one thing that kind of bothered me when we first started like playing is like how like some people would react, like men would react to us when we got on stage. They would like say, inappropriate things, and like I feel like I would get offended. My younger self would get offended, and my older self now wouldn't give a fuck. Oh wait, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. So I think I would tell my younger self to like not care, because someone's always going to have an opinion. Someone's always going to think something, and they're going to want to say it. And just to like be yourself, do what you want to do, and not care about like what other people say.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get to your answer too, Alexia, but I really want to touch on that for a second because she's the band. Because I noticed that you guys were objectified a bit. Like in your early days, it was like hot chicks in metal, and then like there you were, which of course technically is a compliment. But what did you all think of that? Because it's not necessarily what you want to be known for as musicians per se. I don't know. What was your take on it?
I feel like most of the negative part of that whole thing was just from hearing other bands or just people we know, kind of like their perception of that and making it a bad thing. Because for us, we were like, oh, it's fun, it's cute. It doesn't say anything about the music. It's just like we're people that play music.
Yeah.
But it would really hurt to hear other people say things like, oh, well, they're just like, they're making it because they're two sisters that are hot or something like that.
Where it just discredits your talent, essentially.
Yeah.
Or just negates that.
But that goes into my warning, I just realized. I guess my warning would be to kind of like yours, like not care about what people think, because I think it's impossible to have the whole world love you.
Yeah.
And if you like make that your prison, then it's just, you're never going to be happy, like as long as you're happy with yourself. So I guess I would tell myself to just make sure that I'm happy with what I'm doing and what I'm showing people of myself, instead of letting the feedback affect us so much. Because we even had stuff from like labels like telling us how, okay, you need to dress or be different on stage, or like people trying to just change who we are.
Right. I mean, wasn't that a really big talking point on masks? It was kind of like a huge, I don't know. I remember that being a topic of conversation around that era.
Yeah.
Kind of. Well, glad you didn't listen to all of that, you know, because I think fans can always tell when you're genuine versus when you're, I don't know,
Definitely.
trying to people please, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's like definitely points when we did listen. Like I felt like I would change my personality sometimes because I felt like I had to be louder, because a lot of front women in metal are just like, you know, forces, and I'm more shy, but I just sing like with more of a force.
Oh, you do.
But I think that without that lesson though, of like people having the experience of people saying like, you need to be this way, like it just, having that gave value to being and standing strong in who I am now.
Yeah. I guess you wouldn't know the value of that authenticity if you hadn't had to grapple with it at any point.
Yeah.
And worth mentioning too, that's one of the reasons I adore you as a front woman, because you are more introspective. You are like kind of a mystery in some ways. That's so you know, nice. Like I think that's what makes you so special. So I mean, that's such a cliche lesson, but I think it's a really important one.
Thank you.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my 2 cents. So as far as affirmations, like something you would tell yourself about the good things to come.
Everything is a lesson.
Everything is a lesson.
Really important, because things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have thought of that like if you didn't ask that question. So thank you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad I could bring that up. Yeah. It's a big one, because when something really tough happens in the moment, you can be like in a victim mindset about it, or be like, shit, I hate that this is happening right now. Or you can be like, well, what can I take from this?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really a make or break in any industry, but especially in music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I kind of like your answer. But it's so true. I feel like, like what you said, a lot of good things and bad things are happening or will happen to you. But I feel like you said, you need the bad to have the good. Like it's all about the balance. So yeah, like what you said.
When Anissa left, like at first I was like, why is this happening to me? Taking it like so personally.
Right.
And it took like years for me to figure out like, oh, I need this time to figure it out, and also like keep the band together and know that I can just be able to do things on my own. But it takes like, it doesn't happen right away. You have to like shift your mindset.
Yeah. Really important that you said that too, because some people may think something bad happens and you'll immediately know the lesson. Nah, that takes so much time. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah.
I even remember there was an interview you said where the original singer had left, and thank God that had happened, right? Because everything turned into what it did with I Set to Kill. Like if that hadn't happened, who would you be today, right?
Yes, exactly.
Another one of those.
One door closes, another opens, pretty much is what it,
yeah. So when's our self-help book coming out? Like, we've already got chapters 1, 2, 3, like we're good.
Yes.
But we are, obviously, we've talked so much about Reach, which is a really important album, but there's a lot more in your discography. I mean, I'm a Broken Frames girly, particularly. But do you think there's either a song or an album that you think is underrated that deserves more attention too?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I feel like I really love The World Outside so much, but the recording of it, and I'm sorry to who recorded it, it was a different style of recording and production. So I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying I wish we could redo it to be what I kind of envisioned. But at that time, it was like, we were so young, we didn't know about like that process even yet. We were just like, this guy will do it the same as the last guy.
I mean, didn't you record Reach twice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've had to kind of go through the ringer with this a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes.
So I feel like that album for me is kind of underrated because I just felt like it didn't come to full life because of how it was recorded. But that's just nerd shit.
Totally fair though. And it's already hard enough when an album may never really feel done or you're always a work in progress kind of thing. And then when you have to release it and you're like, that wasn't 100%.
Yeah.
Who says you can't re-release it? Let's go.
Good point.
Maybe White Lotus. I feel like
White
Lotus, I feel like we need to give that album. So I think we need to play more songs off of that album.
Yeah.
Personally.
I honestly can't tell though, because like it's one of those things where I'm like, do fans really, really like that album? Or is it
I fucking love that album.
Or is it like one of those things where it's just like, since it's so not available, so easily accessible, it makes you want it more. Like, I didn't know if it was like one of those things, but you...
No, I seek it out. I go on the YouTube stream for that one. And I really don't do that with albums that aren't on Spotify, but I go out of my way for White Lotus. If you want to start playing some songs tonight in Orlando, I really won't stop you. I'm just saying. So, okay, can we talk about what happened with that album? Because that's something I've always been curious about. Like, why isn't it on streaming services? Where is it?
Yeah, we don't own the rights to that album because our ex-manager, I don't know if I should say his name.
Dave Aguilera.
He owns the rights to it and we've asked for it, but he won't. He's like holding it hostage and he won't give it back unless we give him $11,000. So we're going to start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, please.
We could re-record it.
Or re-record it.
Pull the Taylor
Swift.
Swift.
Yes, that'd be cool.
That's a cool idea, actually. I like I like where your heads are at.
Yeah.
Thanks for the lesson, Dave.
Yeah.
Big lesson.
Yes.
Just now.
Yeah. Broke a lot of fans' hearts. You have a moment right now to rectify the situation if you would like. Otherwise, we're coming for you.
Yep.
But yeah, good to know though, because I hope that album, Justice for White Lotus.
Yes,
really.
Justice for White Lotus.
Yeah.
We'll make a shirt.
Yeah, please.
Oh my God.
Please.
We'll have a QR code on the back.
Oh my God.
This is a moment like to remind everyone, buy merch, support the band so we can pull together and get this album back. Well, good to know. And also, I do want to talk about this. This is such a random question, but it came up because I was doing shrinky dinks last night. Do you guys remember those? It was like those plastic sheets that you would draw on as a kid with like Sharpies, and then they would shrink, and then you would have this little plastic like trinket. I don't know. It's a very 90s, 2000s kid thing.
I remember that.
Can you still buy them?
Yes.
Oh,
that sounds fun.
Anyways, just little arts and crafts. I was doing arts and crafts. Okay. Comment if you know what shrinky dinks are. And I was like, man, my creative brain is not thriving because I don't nourish it, right? And I'm sitting there trying to do these little shrinky dinks. I love saying it, apparently. And I like couldn't figure out what to draw. I'm like drawing a flower and a butterfly because it was like all I had in me. And I felt like that was a really interesting moment where I wanted to talk to you all about fueling your creative mind, because not only are you in music, but I mean, the band name comes from poetry because you also do that. And Anissa, you're a chef, you cook, and that is creative in its own way. Like, you all are creative forces. So for anyone such as myself who is struggling in that department, what advice do you have for nourishing your creativity and keeping that thriving?
I think my mind went to grandma. My grandma puts like love in everything, and she's, you know, she doesn't like paint or do like anything that's like an artist type of thing.
Right.
But it's still like she creates stuff by putting her love in it. And like I feel like that's where we get our creativity. And I think it comes from like just a genuine like place of like, okay, I'm just gonna put my all in this, and if it's ugly, that's okay. But it's just what I have, and that's it. Put my love in it, and that's good enough.
Big thing you said there too, even if it's ugly, that's okay. Because I think some people get in their own way of trying to make something good instead of just making something. Yeah. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
It's like when you're little, you don't draw something and think, I mean, when you're like super young, you don't draw something and think it's ugly. You like are proud of it, you know? So I feel like we need to like go back to like our inner child and like become that again when like ever we're creating things. And yeah. We like to do weird, kind of embarrassing, I guess, but we love them. We do like little videos of like songs that aren't great, but they're just like little jingles, little fun jingles. Yeah. And we're not trying to make money off of them or anything. We're just like having fun and being in the moment with our little inflatable alien guy that we have. His name is Alan. We'll send you a picture so you can post him.
Yes.
You'll see him tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I will. Yeah. Is he on tour with you?
Yes, he's on tour with us.
He moshes every night.
Yeah.
He like dances in the crowd. Yeah.
You all are the best. This is awesome. But so this is interesting too, because you're talking about like inner child and making this music where it's not necessarily to monetize on. Do you find with I Set to Kill you have to sort of differentiate the business versus the creative in order to make good music? Because that gets a little blurry sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think that it's harder to do when it's like, you know, we've been a band for so long and we've gotten into, especially for me, I feel like I've gotten into the groove of like, okay, we're in the studio, let's do this. And I forget to just be like, okay, what are we going to do? Sometimes I get so used to just the way that I've been in the studio that I forget that every moment is new and every moment can be different. And to not take the past of like with labels saying, oh, you gotta have a radio song or like whatever we were told back then.
That must haunt you even though you're free.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes it's like always kind of like in the back of our heads, but it's when we were young, it was always people telling us what to do or like how we need to be. So I feel like that's why it's always going to kind of be back there. But it is much easier now to just be like, well, we're going to do whatever we want now. And and it'll be cool.
Yeah. And it's neat too because you all have experimented so much, but I do feel like generally everything's been very true to I Set to Kill. I don't want to say brand because that's the opposite of what I'm trying to say, but it's been very true to you and your sound. Like you've never gone too wacky with it in following your music. So that's good. But speaking of, I hear there's new music on the way.
Yes.
What's going on?
We have a song coming out. It'll be out when this episode's live, but it's called Wilderness. And we intended on like going to our roots of like reach and everything. But I feel like it's a good mix of like the old us and the new us.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, there's kind of like a metalcore revival right now, nostalgia revival right now. So do you feel like you all are kind of riding that wave a little bit too?
Yeah.
Like you're in it for sure. So that's rad. So is there going to be more? Like, is this single just kind of the tip of the iceberg? Is there going to be more?
Or we don't know.
I'm being greedy. Like, I should just be excited about one song, but I'm like, so what's...
We're like, let's write. We're still on step 1, which is song 1.
Cool.
So, but we're all open to like doing an album. We just haven't really talked about it because we've been just doing the tour.
Totally.
And then we haven't released a song in, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years. So, or 2 years? Feels like forever for some reason since our last EP.
I'm excited about this song too because Alexia, you haven't directed any of the music videos before, huh?
Oh, no.
So the music video for this song, Alexia is filming it and directed it. We're still working on it.
Speaking of creative forces,
but yeah, so it's gonna be really cool when it comes out.
It's either gonna be really funny or just really good.
But funny in a good way. Maybe. In a good way. Yeah.
So are you nervous about being fully in charge of the video? How did you sort of develop these skills? This is a totally different branch of creativity.
I started doing like videography at home, like during like COVID. And I just ended up really liking it. So I just kept doing it. And I didn't think I was actually helping a friend with video stuff, and I didn't see it as like an art form at all. I was just like, okay, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just shooting you. But now that like I've gotten behind like the editing and stuff, it feels like an art, like my canvas. I'm like, I could do all this stuff and make things more dramatic, and so it's been cool to like have to do on the side too, even when I'm on tour,
right?
To stay creative.
Oh, well, I'm excited to see your work. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
I hope.
And no matter what, you're putting love into it, as you said. So everybody support the love. And Anissa, you I'm assuming had involvement in this new song too, right? Like now being back in the band and all that. This was recorded when you were already in it.
I love this, the meaning behind the song a lot, because I feel like I obviously can relate to the song, because it's about it's called Wilderness, and it's kind of about like, you know, you're on a journey, and sometimes you feel like a little bit lost in a way, but to always kind of go with your gut and your feeling, and it'll show you like the light, pretty much is what the song is about. So I feel like our time apart is kind of like the song turned into like what we went through and then what we are now. And I mean, that's the meaning for me with the song. So yeah, it's cool. I'm really excited for people to hear it.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to that. And tour coming up in October as well, right?
Yes. Just how long is it? It's not that long. But
is it more Reach shows, or is it?
Well, we are going to play more Reach stuff, but it's Alexia is doing like this long over the year headliner thing. So yeah, we're just joining on like it's like one of the legs of it.
Like 2 weeks or like a week and a half or something.
Yeah.
West Coast dates.
So this is interesting too, because you all are in sort of you mentioned Alexia, and I was like, wow, nostalgia. Do you find that you're trying to grapple with kind of going into that nostalgia thing, but also making it aware that you are still an active band releasing new music? Is that something you feel like you have to balance a little bit, or how are you navigating that?
I don't know. I don't feel like we have to balance it really, just because we're kind of just taking things as they come.
Yeah.
But you know what? I did have a thought of like, wait, so we're touring Reach, but we're playing a new song, and I was like, wait, those are kind of two different worlds, like polar opposite worlds almost. But I feel like one theme of us as a band right now is we're trying to like not think too hard about things, especially like in the freedom that we finally have right now.
Yeah.
We used to always just have to like communicate with like labels and managers and everything. And we have a manager, but he's a cool manager. So it's
yes.
Yeah. We're kind of just like on our own time and our own schedule. So it's kind of nice to not have to think too like far in the future, and not have to like,
it doesn't feel like there's a blueprint we have to follow.
Yeah.
We're just like going with the flow.
Yeah. And you could be all the things. You can play Reach and be the new music, the new band, the new identity that you are now.
Yeah,
they can all coexist. Yes. And I know I seem like I'm wrapping up, but we actually have 4 sort of rapid fire questions that I end every She's of the Band episode with. Are you ready?
Okay.
I think you may have done these in the MySpace one, but we're doing them again.
Okay.
We're going to do them proper.
Okay.
So the first one is the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show. Is this where the eyeball thing came in?
I think this is the eyeball story.
Don't do it again,
I don't know
please.
if I have to. Yeah, I was like, do I have to tell a story again? It's so gruesome.
Maybe you have one, Alexia.
Jaw-dropping experience. I think when we played in Southeast Asia, when it was like a huge crowd, and they were just like screaming our name. And I was like, we're in Asia right now. This is so weird. And then like people peeking through our tent. Oh. And I was like, I feel like we're the Beatles right now. That was really cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That was like one of those like pinch yourself moments. Like it didn't feel real. Also, we didn't sleep, so
I mean,
it extra didn't feel real.
You were in an interesting mental state as well. Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing too, because you all kind of came up when MySpace was the thing. It was the first time music discovery was online. So it was global, you know? So
yeah, people were asking for years, come to Southeast Asia, come here, like overseas. And we didn't go for the longest time. So when it finally came time, like it was just explosive when we play. There's so many people. And it was definitely jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And next we have here, most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson that you learned from it.
Misstep?
I feel like we kind of went into that a little, but if there's anything else you want to add.
Misstep. There's probably plenty. I don't know why I can't think of.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like when we were drinking a lot and partying, I wish that I didn't like do that because I feel like I would have been so much better on stage and live and performance wise, like in the younger days, if I wasn't like partying so hard. So, I mean, it's different
like
now, but like
that better.
Yeah. I can't really think of like anything that's like crazy that I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't do that.
That's totally fair though. Yeah. And we're seeing, even if it's not full on sobriety, we're seeing a lot of artists sort of lean into that a lot more now, especially on the road. Probably for these reasons. We're all like, we did things a little silly on the road back then, so we're going to chill it out. So and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, some people might think it's not cool to participate as much, or you might be missing out on something, but the trade-off is like a great show. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And most jaw-dropping female artist you'd love to work with, if you each have one.
Jaw-dropping female artist.
I love Karen O from the IAS.
Yeah.
I think she just seems like a really cool person too, just all around, and great artist. So that would be my answer.
And fashion-wise, that'd be a crazy collab on stage.
Oh, yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe Poppy.
Ooh, and she's the collab queen right now.
Yeah.
So I don't see why not.
Yeah. Just because she's so unique. I really like how unique she is. Who else? I feel like there was someone I thought of the other day. I'm trying to access. I can't.
Was it someone heavy? Something poppy?
I think it was someone poppy. Oh well.
I know you're a big Alanis Morissette fan, right?
Oh yeah,
that's a big one.
That would be cool.
I read that in another interview.
I almost feel like not worthy. I think that's why I didn't. mention it.
Dream big, manifest. It's fine. And the last one we have here. Most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood.
I feel like when you're like me, like a little quieter, I think people think that you don't want them to talk to you, especially like on tours. I feel like I kind of have to go extra out of my way to talk to people. And also like my last boyfriend even said, he's like, yeah, I probably would never said anything to you if you didn't say anything to me. I'm like, thank you. So I wish people could know that I am open. I'm just like, for whatever reason, I'm just a quieter, shyer person. Doesn't mean I'm like scary or mean.
And the thing is, that's like extra pressure on you too, because now not only are you quiet, but you also have to be the extroverted one to reach out to people.
Yeah.
So that's,
It's a good challenge for me, but definitely feels like I'm not in my skin when I do that, you know?
Right. Well, I think this podcast kind of debunks it too, because you've been nothing but lovely and chatty and wonderful. So hopefully everyone understands now.
Understand me.
Anything else you want to
add? Like misconception question?
Yeah. It could be about you or about the band in general.
Thought that you were, well, that's not a common one though.
What?
Someone thought that you were a screamer too.
Oh, that happens a few times where people think that I'm like the screamer of the band for some reason.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I should just become the screamer of the band.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's a sign.
You have my support.
Yeah, I'll start practicing.
Word.
She can scream.
Yeah.
She used to joke scream.
Yeah.
Or joke scream. It didn't sound like a joke scream.
Yeah.
Though.
Like, is it pretty ferocious?
It's pretty ferocious. I just need to like hone it in, and then I could probably do some cool screams.
It's never too late to start.
But yeah, it's funny because I'm just bringing up that person that you were saying was he was like, "How do you do your gutturals, Anissa?" And I was like, I'm not the screamer, but and then he asked you, I think, or I don't know who he asked first, but we're like, no, we're not the ones who do those screams, but
yeah,
maybe we will.
So to clarify, because I haven't seen you all play in a while, who's doing the screams now?
Jeremy. Yeah.
I don't think
he's our friend from Virginia. He started out as our sound guy.
Okay.
And then our guitarist quit a couple years ago, and Jeremy's really good guitarist and screamer.
Yeah.
So I was like, would you want to? And he's like, yes.
He screams,
yes.
He's in a band too that he plays guitar and screams in, and it's called Revenant, but it's spelled RVNT. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Revenant.
Yeah, they're cool if you want to check them out.
I'm always down for new music. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right on. This has been so awesome. Very full
you.
circle after however many interviews we did like 10 years ago to be able to sit and like have a really chill conversations. Yes. Thank you all for being here. It's been a joy, and I look forward to seeing everything you do next.
Thank you so much.
You for having us.
And I just want to say you're really awesome and very you're very easy to talk to, and I was excited to do this again, and if you ever want to do it again, we're happy to
Door is
do it.
always open, and I will have a new chopped up shirt for every time I talk to you.
Yes,
no, for real. Like, you all made such a huge impression on me as a teenager and in my growing up into the metalcore world. And even though we're really not that far apart, like, I really did look up to you and still admire you all tremendously. So doors always open, for real.
Thank you.
And everybody who's watching this, you're here on KNOTFEST. Make sure you're checking in every other week for She's with the Band. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review, subscribe, all the things, wherever you're listening. And we'll catch you next time. Bye, y'all.